Hello, everybody. Welcome to the FutureDDS Dental School Experience Series, where we help you decide which dental school is right for you. Now, every school is unique and will provide you with a different experience, and we thought, who better to explain to you what a school has to offer than a student who actually goes there? Our goal in this series is to give you a first-hand perspective of every dental program in America and ultimately help you make the right decision. So today we'll be showcasing Amanda Uehara, who is a D2 at Touro College of Dental Medicine. How are you doing today, Amanda?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. First and foremost, thank you so much for taking the time out to help us and our audience today. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. No problem at all. So, all right. So let's go ahead and get it started. If you could, please tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you went to undergrad, and kind of why you were interested in dentistry in the first place.
So I'm originally from California, Cupertino. I went to undergrad in UC Davis.
Okay.
California. I studied nutrition science, emphasizing biochemistry, and let's see. Then I did my master's, and partway through, I got accepted into Touro. So I just upped and decided to go there. So what got me into dentistry was originally I was planning on going to medicine.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a dermatologist. So first year of college, I decided to volunteer at a hospital. And that's when I realized that I didn't want to pursue that anymore because I just didn't like the sterile setting of a hospital. So I got interested in dentistry and decided to shadow a dentist who was working for at my aunt's office. And then before that, I wasn't too interested in dentistry. I thought it was like just really boring. But then after working with him, he kind of he allowed for me to see the intricacies of dentistry that is very different from medicine, and how you're able to build like really good, strong, long-term relationships with your patients that, I really saw was very different from any other field.
Okay, and so really quickly, so you said you started your master's program, and I'm assuming that it was a 2-year master's program.
Yeah.
Okay, and so once you got accepted, you were just kind of like, all right, y'all, I got to dip.
Pretty much.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, honestly, it happens, I had a friend who actually went through the same situation, and he was actually nervous because technically he didn't finish his master's program. But, the dental school felt like he was prepared enough, so they definitely let him in. So I wanted to ask you, even though you only did like half of your master's, do you still feel like it helped you or prepared you for your dental school curriculum?
I did to a certain point because the master's that I did was actually in kinesiology.
Okay.
And it was an emphasis on orthopedic rehab.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of confusing, but so after I graduated from college, I didn't feel like I had enough experience to be able to fully commit myself to a future in dentistry.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to get more hands-on experience, like in the real world, to be able to see, like, this is the path that I truly want to commit to,
Right.
and like have no doubts, like, regarding going forward.
Right.
So I decided to, instead of just like, applying to dental school, taking the DAT right after college, I wanted to work as a front desk, like receptionist, and then after that as a dental assistant. And that's what made me fall in love with dentistry. And since then I have no regrets. But then after I took the DAT, I applied for the first time, didn't get accepted. So I was like, okay, where do I go from here? I was talking to some counselors, and they said, you can either do a post-bac program or you can do a master's program to kind of like, ramp up your application. So for me, like, if I'm going to do a master's, I want to do something that I feel like I can actually utilize in the future too, and it's more practical.
Right.
Like, physical therapy and like orthopedic rehab, I feel like I can still take with me in the future, even as a dentist.
Definitely.
Like, doing a master's in like biology or something.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But okay, thank you. So let's talk about Touro. I don't know if a lot of people really know about Touro. Even at first I was like, where is Touro? Like when I first heard about it. So basically, can you kind of explain to us like what the city is like, where it's located, and also how big is the city,
So Touro is in Valhalla. It's a little bit more upstate from the city. So a lot of times when you say like, oh, I'm like going to a school in New York, they think of the city. No, we're a little bit more upstate. So I would say we're about 20 minutes drive from the Bronx and about 30 to 40 minutes from Manhattan.
Okay.
It's 10 minutes away from White Plains, which is like the closest major city around the area. But it's like a very small town. You don't really get much distractions from like bars and clubs and that.
Right, right. Hey, that's a good thing, you
Yeah,
know.
so like, if you're really worried about like, having distractions, Touro, you won't get any of that.
Right, right. And you said that, what is the city name?
It's Valhalla.
Okay, see, I thought Touro like was the city. I don't know why, and I was just like, okay.
Oh no! So Touro is actually the college system. So they have multiple different campuses all over the nation. So there's a couple campuses in New York. So I know they have a nursing school, they have a law school, they have an osteopathic medicine school.
Mhm.
There's a couple campuses in California, and then there's one I believe in Nevada.
Okay, okay, great, great. And so, what about your class size? I know the actual school Toro is in a small city, like you said. So, like, is your class size really small, or is it kind of on the bigger side?
I would say it's more on the smaller side, but it's not like super small where it's just like you feel like just super claustrophobic.
Mhm.
We started off, I believe, at 114, and then since then there's a couple people who dropped out. So our class size is about like 110.
Okay, okay, yeah, that's about average. That's about average. Okay, and so you mentioned that there's like a medical school also associated with Turo, but are you all like the only school within your campus, or is the medical school like combined with your school?
So the medical school at Touro is not combined with ours, but our school is a part of New York Medical College.
Okay.
So we're on the same campus, and
Okay.
then there's certain classes like anatomy where we do share with like the medical students.
Mhm.
Other classes like ethics we also
Mhm.
share. So sometimes we're on the New York Medical College campus to take certain classes.
Okay. Okay. Great.
Also share certain professors too.
Okay, yeah, we do the same thing here at Tufts. But
Yeah.
okay, great. So now I kind of want to ask you, what are some of the main keys that made you decide on going to Toro? Because I know you said you're from California, so I'm like, you're going from coast to coast, like it's a big jump. So like, what really attracted you about the school?
So before I accepted the acceptance from
Hmm.
Toro, I was waitlisted with another school.
Hmm.
And Toro, the nice thing about them is that they start a lot earlier than other schools typically. We started our curriculum in, I believe it was July versus later on in like August or September. So they were the first people to accept me. So I didn't want to pass up that opportunity.
Smart.
On top of that, they're the newest school in the nation. So
Mm.
that means that we have everything that's like, we're on par with the technology.
Mhm.
So when it comes to digital dentistry, implants, anything like that, we're on top of the game. So that to me was also very interesting because when I've interviewed at other schools, they didn't really seem to have, um, they weren't as updated with the technology. And for me as like a future dentist, I want to have my practice be more up to date. So that way I would be able to like, have the greatest standard of care for my patients.
Definitely, definitely, and I think that's something that's huge that people who are applying to dental school might not necessarily like understand right now,
Yeah.
because like you said, like I've heard about people who are learning new techniques that they just simply don't use anymore, and it's kind of just like why would you learn these techniques versus going into a more digital dentistry route. So no, that's a huge advantage of Toro, obviously. So so now I want to kind of go back in time a little bit to your interview. A lot of people get super, super, super nervous about the interview. And I mean, not as they should be, but, I think we both kind of understand why it's that pressure. It's a lot going on. So if you could you kind of like describe the interview process at Toro?
So we were separated into two different groups. I believe there's a morning group and an afternoon group. I was
Mhm.
in the afternoon group. And then within those two groups, we were separated into smaller groups.
Mhm.
And pretty much what they did was like it was like kind of like an orientation where they told us about like, the mission statement of the school, introduced us to some faculty, took us on a tour to like see the campus, see the sim lab, see the clinic. And then after that, we had one-on-one interviews with faculty.
Mhm.
And Honestly, I felt really relaxed with that interview. I didn't feel like stressed out at all. I felt like everyone was very warm and friendly and accommodating. So I didn't feel like stressed out.
Right. And it's easy too. I mean, a lot of people are in these interviews, so the fact that they made you feel comfortable, it's awesome. It's
Yeah.
awesome. And so, okay, so obviously you got into school, you know, yay. um, and so after you got in, like, how was that transition as far as when you first started? They kind of have like an orientation week, or did you know they kind of just throw you all into the fire and say, hey, let's start?
So before school started, we had a couple days where they did orientation, which was really nice because it helped for us to kind of know who our fellow students are, to know who the faculty is,
Mhm.
what we're getting ourselves into. They gave us a lot of support in terms of like resources,
Mhm.
for like financial aid, like health insurance. So they kind of like told us like everything about that, so we're not like lost going in.
Right.
Really nice. And then I believe we had a group activity, which is also nice. So they took us to the city. We went to a exhibit that was really fun. So it was kind of nice because a lot of our students are also from out of state. So we're not like, especially for me, like I've only been to New York one other time before this. So it was kind of nice to kind of get used to the environment too. And then after that, when we started first year, we started in the summer. We actually had we were paired up with a D2 in groups. So that way they were kind of acting like a TA to
Mhm.
help guide us through like sim lab and just through our classes. So that way if we have any questions, it wouldn't be so overwhelming and just, we felt like there was guidance.
Right. And it's super necessary. It's
Yeah.
super necessary. Okay, great. So now I want to ask you, once again, we're back in time. Tell me about your D1 year. Like our audience loves to hear a day in the lives. They like to know, what time you had to wake up for your first class. What were your classes from like 8 to 12? Then did you get a lunch break? Then 1 to 4. So can you kind of just like give us a walkthrough of your timeline of your first year?
So our first year was pretty tough because we started off in the semester or in the summer, but we
Mhm.
were a semester system. So our summer was actually, the curriculum was cut in half. So we took 6 classes for 2 months, and that was our summer session.
Mhm.
And that was pretty tough because we had at least like one quiz or an exam like every other day. So you have to be on top of your game. And especially for people who have not been to school for a while or they're not used to that kind of course load, it's very overwhelming. So you have to learn how to time manage very effectively, and figure out like what's the best study method for you, which is like different for everyone. So it was nice though because the D2s helped us out a lot in terms of giving us like advice for how to study for a certain class. They supported us with like previous notes that might be helpful. Um, we started off our days typically at 8 a.m. Biochemistry, and then after that we would be in class from between, I want to say at earliest we would end at 2 p.m. Latest would be probably around 5 p.m. because of clinic or sim lab. Um, and then some people stay after hours to finish up whatever like assignments that they have to. But it's pretty hard. The nice thing about Touro is that we actually finish our Fridays off a little bit earlier. We cut it off at 12 p.m. because we are a Jewish school. So we do,
I did not know that.
yeah. So that's kind of like something that's very unique. So we follow a lot of Jewish practices. So one of the things is, we don't do work after 12 p.m. on Fridays. So the school is actually technically closed after 12 on Fridays.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's a good break.
It's a nice break. It kind of gives you like, some time to kind of reset yourself.
Right. Which is very necessary.
It is.
I'm sure all of our viewers will definitely realize that in the future.
Yep.
So, okay, great. So then, what do you think that Toro looks for in an applicant? Like, of course, you have to have good grades, a good DAT score, but what would you tell somebody who was interested in applying to make sure that they had on their application?
I believe that they focus a lot on diversity.
Yeah.
Um, they're not looking for like, some sort of template like that they're looking for in a person. They want to see that you're a unique person, you're a unique individual. Because a lot of the students who actually get accepted here are not like typically just bio majors or physio majors or biochemistry majors. Like a lot of them are actually like from economic background, a engineering background, financial background. So, I mean, I feel like with dentistry, you can have all that diversity and bring it to one place, because I feel like with dentistry, it's like a multifaceted field where, you have to be good, not only clinically, but you have to be good, financially. Dentistry is a business within itself. So having like different, thought process come and, coincide within the same facility is really nice. So that way we can brainstorm and like, build up a better education.
Definitely, definitely. And so I wanna clarify something for the audience. I'm sure you can help me with this. Because I think some people might feel like in order to go to Touro, you might have to be Jewish. I mean, that's not true, right?
Not
Okay.
at all.
I think when people start, hearing that these certain schools have religious affiliations, like Toro, like Loma Linda, they start to almost assume like, okay, well, I'm sure that I won't be. They might not have a preference for me because I'm not said religion, but that's not true. Okay, cool. Just wanted
No,
to
it's
put that
not.
on the floor for everybody. But
Yeah.
okay, so me and you kind of talked about this a little bit earlier before the interview started. But how do you relieve stress in dental school? We both know it can be a lot. It can be a lot if you're not on top of it. Even if you are on top of it, it's a lot. So like, what are some of your outlets, in order to maintain your mental health and just keep that anxiety down?
Definitely working out helps a lot.
Mhm.
That's definitely one of my biggest stress reliefs.
Mhm.
School, I used to bodybuild in the past. So just kind of keeping that up and like, because we're sitting in school all day long, like it's not really good for you
Mhm.
within itself. So going out and kind of changing things up and like, getting some fresh air, getting some like, circulation in is good for your like mental health too. Um, yeah, so I would say that I took on cooking. So it's just like, small little hobbies to kind of keep like,
Okay, that's fair. I mean, we have to cook. It's
gotta
necessary.
eat.
You have to. I'm surprised you didn't get good at cooking when you were bodybuilding. I feel like
I got good at meal prepping and counting my
mm,
macros.
that's a huge difference. You're right.
That's a huge difference there.
Huge difference. So I also want to ask you, okay, so I'm assuming that you work out what, 5, 6, 7 times a week, or
Yeah, pretty much. I try to get into the gym at least 5 to 6 times a week. Sometimes I know it's kind of tough when our exam schedules get kind of crazy. But for me, it's just like my mentality is if I can get in like 20, 30 minutes of doing something, like that's more than enough. And sometimes, like honestly, if we have like a week long of just like crazy exams or like 2 weeks long crazy exams, I'll just bring my laptop with me and like
oh, really?
watch lectures while I'm doing
Right.
cardio. And like, to me, like that's a success within itself.
Right, no, definitely. Okay, so you have to be committed, right? I think that, where do you find the time? I mean, are you like what, 5 a.m. club where you're waking up super early to make sure that you go? Or do you just carve out whatever time you have within the day to make sure that you hit it?
So I'm typically more of an evening gym
Mhm.
goer. So I like to get like most of my school stuff done first and then go to the gym.
Okay.
Um, but I try to make it as flexible as possible too. So like, let's say if I know I'm gonna be busy studying for like an exam later in the evening, or I
Mhm.
may have like a 2 hour gap in between classes, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna like hit the school gym then downstairs for like an hour and half an
Mhm.
hour, and like if I have more time, then I'm gonna go to the 24-hour fitness that I'm a part of, and like spend a couple hours there. So it really depends on my current schedule and kind of just manipulating how I manage my time
Okay.
accordingly.
Okay. Great. 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 All right. So let's talk about clinic. So the reason why we're in dental school, people want to know kind of when they'll be able to access clinic, when they will start to see patients. So how does Turo go about that?
So for us, they prepare us pretty well clinically before going to clinic.
Mhm.
We started sim lab, first day of school,
Mhm.
which is really nice because then you kind of get used to understanding how your hand skills are, knowing what to improve. We worked with waxing up teeth. It was pretty fun. And after that, we started doing restorations and crowns and fillings and bridges. So they wanted us to feel very competent with our hand skills prior to going to clinic, which is really nice because I really enjoy that. And then come third year, so come June for us, we're going to start clinic and we're going to start doing rotations first. And we're going to be paired up with, our fellow D3s and do rotations for a couple months. And then after that, we're going to be paired up with a fellow D4 and then do our clinic work, there.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, so no assist up until second year.
Assistant in terms of what?
As in terms of like you being like right next to your D3, D4.
Oh, no, they start us with like four-handed dentistry. They want us to get more acclimated with that, I would say this semester, so second semester, second year.
Okay.
So we started working kind of simulating that.
Okay.
And with the rotations, it's going to be more like, shadowing different like aspects of dentistry. So before we're actually working with like patients. But yeah, I guess like in a sense, second year, second semester, we're going to be assisting, I guess.
Okay. Okay. All right. So now I want to kind of ask you to give us a personal story, that you've had at Touro that made you, think to yourself like, wow, I'm really glad I came here. Like, this is the school for me. Like, have you had one of those experiences or? I know it was hard. So it's hard to have those little, those little moments. So yeah, we just like to hear like if if there was an interaction with, a professor or, one of the times where your class came together and like supported you, when there was a hard test, whatever it may be.
Actually, I have a experience. A couple of weeks ago, we actually got an email from our IT person who has been super helpful in supporting us in terms of scheduling and managing our exams and all that stuff. And she sent out an email saying that she's so proud of us that we've been able to get so far, and then she feels like I have to pause this. Sorry. This question kind of threw me off, so
Oh, my bad. You're good. Actually, hold on for 1 second. You were like. Okay, cool. No, so like basically I do Instacart, or I don't do Instacart, but what Instacart is? Do y'all have that out there?
That's the one where you can order groceries to your
Yeah.
house.
Yeah. So like literally like no grocery stores that are reasonable like in the downtown Boston. So like I just order them online and they were like blowing my phone up and I'm like, oh man, what happened? But I think everything.
That's so funny.
So
Okay, I'm gonna have to read this email because it's actually an email that she sent out that I thought was like really touching.
okay, hold on. So do you want like just do hold on. I need to write this down. Hold on for 1 second. Just so I remember when we stopped,
Yeah.
So should I re-ask the question?
Yeah, maybe.
In the beginning.
I felt like I was just like rambling.
No, you're good. And after what was that? Wait, experience. No, because like you'd be amazed, like you have good flow with the camera. A lot of people, and this is something that I realized, I kind of already knew this, but like everybody's not as like personable as you just assume them to be,
Oh, really?
Yeah, oh yeah. Some people are very just like, yeah, I just came to dental school because it was like, why not? I'm like, no, we can't say that. No. Like,
Oh man, that's hilarious.
it's funny. So, are you ready? You want me to go ahead and ask you the question again, or?
Can you give me like 1 second?
Yeah. Take your time. Take your time. I'm chilling.
Sorry.
You're good. You're good. How do you say your Instagram name?
Swolita.
I was like, okay, I think this is like.
I thought it was just super funny, so.
Yeah, I was like, I don't. I was like, is this like supposed to be funny? Because I was like, I read it one
Yeah,
way.
that's supposed to be just funny. I thought it was hilarious. Someone said it, and I'm like, okay, this has to be my handle.
Yeah, you're a fool, yo.
Where did it go?
Yo, your abs are crazy.
Thanks. That was like 4 years ago, though.
Like, damn. So did you used to do like the body fat, like the actual like percentage where like you get it like a water?
Yeah, so I actually have an uncle who he has his PhD in nutrition and
Mm,
got his medical degree too. So his
mm.
got a DO. He actually has 2 bod pods that
Oh,
I
man.
could like just use anytime I want.
Oh,
So
that's crazy.
that was actually really cool.
No problem.
Okay, I think I'm ready.
You ready? All right. All right, cool. All right, you ready? Okay, let's get it. All right, so now I want to ask you about an experience that you've had, that made you really like step back and say, "Wow, I'm so glad that I attend Touro."
So I would say a couple of weeks ago,
Mhm.
we actually got an email from our IT tech lady, and she's been a huge influence in our lives because she's been the one who's been supporting us, giving us any kind of help that we need. She's the person who manages all of our exams and our schedule, and so she's been a huge impact in our dental lives. And so she sent out an email saying that we've gone through so much. We're a month out from white coat, and we've gone through so much stress, exams. We've made friends, lost friends, all this. And that she's so proud that we've made it so far regardless, and that it's going to be an honor to walk with us, to see us go down the through the ceremony.
Mhm.
And so that to me just was a reminder of all the struggles that we've gone through,
Mhm.
how good it's going to feel at the end.
Right, right.
So that was like a very meaningful message that she sent out to us. So I
It's
thought it was
those, it's those
heartwarming.
type things, right? They feel really good.
Yeah, it did, because with school it goes by really fast. It's kind of strange because it feels super long, but it goes by really fast at the same time. You kind of lose sense of time and all the things that you've gone through. And it's a grind. So sometimes you kind of forget like the journey, and you forget what you're doing this for. So kind of being reminded, what, like there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's kind of nice.
It definitely is. Okay, okay, great. Okay, Amanda. So we are near the end of our interview. So I kind of want to ask you to give our viewers, and maybe not even if they want to go to Turo, but they're just applying to dental school in general. Can you give them one piece of advice? Your golden nugget of advice that you would give anybody who is in the situation, just like we both were back in the day.
I would say never give up. If you find something that you have passion for, that you truly love, don't give that up. Try to figure out how to get through it. Because for me, I knew that dentistry was the only field that I want to be in.
Mhm.
That there's no other field I would ever want to get into. So I had to apply twice to get in, and it was discouraging. After I got rejected the first time, it was pretty demotivating, but you know what? You have to have a clear head, figure out, you know what, this is where I'm at, this is where I want to be, figure out how am I going to get from A to B to Z.
Right.
You know, it's more about just planning out, having a game plan, seeing, you know, being consistent with that, putting in that effort, trying to go the extra mile, like, you know, setting yourself aside from other people and to help you stand out. So that's going to make you into a better applicant.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you so much, Amanda. You've been great. Is there any way or any type of contact information that we can give the viewers just in case they want to reach out and ask you some more questions?
They can reach me at my Instagram. It's Swolita, SWOLITA.
Okay, definitely. So everybody, I'll make sure to put that in the description box below. But Amanda, on behalf of Future DDS and all of our viewers, once again, thank you so much. You know, for providing insight to your school and your experience so far, and best of luck to you.
Thank you.
No problem at all. No problem at all. Everybody, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so that you know whenever we post new content. But until next time, see y'all later.